Hello, and welcome to a Movie Math special report. Yes, as the summer movie season winds down and we still have the holiday movie season to go, let's take advantage of this moment of calm in the eye of the storm to assess the box office for the year to date. It's real slow right now, and hopefully, things are really going to pick up this holiday movie season. There are some fascinating things for me to go over with you about how the box office is changing and how it's affecting business corporate strategy. I love it! But yes, we're going to take a look at the box office year to date so far and see how the movies and the studios are faring. Right now, Paramount is king of the world, something that hasn't happened since Titanic back in 1997. Paramount has had a couple of high points after that, which I'm sure some of you might be pointing out right now, but they've never been on top of the domestic and worldwide box office like they are now. And to be fair, Paramount, I believe Fox distributed Titanic internationally, and Paramount was the domestic studio. But yes, Top Gun Maverick currently sits at the top of the domestic and worldwide charts with a comfortable lead. Oh boy! This is not only a win for Paramount and Tom Cruise, again, his first billion-dollar film, Will Smith having gotten one, just a few years before with Aladdin. It's interesting to see actors, that was kind of a win. Top Gun Maverick is a sequel, and Aladdin was also a win for, the Disney animated live-action remakes. But still, the star power was, I think, responsible for both of these hits. So Tom Cruise, his first billion-dollar movie, and so this is another win for, classic movie stars, that movie stars still do exist. Yes, Virginia, there are still movie stars. And that, this is also a big win, though, for studio and actor combinations. Like, we talk a lot about actor and director team-ups, right? And director and studio team-ups. But ever since the studio system went away, you haven't really seen actor and studio pairings. Especially when it's not an actor who happens to be attached to a franchise, instead of directly with the studio. Paramount actually is spearheading this technique, as they not only, of course, have been in business with Tom Cruise for quite some time, but recently signed deals with John Krasinski and Ryan Reynolds. Although, interestingly, that was the former Paramount brass who actually came from Fox that made those deals, and then they were just recently pushed out, and those deals are now with the new people who are heading up Paramount. But it's going very well for Paramount as a studio. So it's interesting to see the actors remain the same, but the executives change. But anyway, the only two movies left this year that have a chance of unseating Top Gun Maverick are both from Disney. Once again, Disney has re-entered the chat. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Top Gun Maverick has just squeaked by the first Black Panther's box office, by the way. And James Cameron for the repeat, many repeats. He's going to try again with Avatar 2, The Way of Water. I really disliked that first film, but Avatar still has its fans. It's very popular as a theme park attraction in Animal Kingdom. I even enjoy that. And I gotta say, every time I see that trailer on IMAX, I'm like, that does look pretty interesting. I'm actually kind of excited to see it. And if I'm excited to see it, some people are really excited to see it. Paramount did top the worldwide chart in 2014 with Transformers: Age of Extinction. Remember when Transformers was a big franchise? Although domestically the film actually did quite poor. Some movies are very overseas heavy and don't really do that well domestically. That's usually the sign that a franchise is in trouble and eventually will head off the edge of the cliff, as so often happens. And that's what happened to Transformers. Anyway, since then, except for 2019 because of the pandemic, from 2015 to 2018, and even last year, it's been a Star Wars or Marvel film, aka Disney or Disney adjacent with the Spider-Man situation, that has been the top movie of the year. Can Paramount and Tom Cruise end the mouse's streak? We shall see. In fact, worldwide, Disney is just in third place this year, thanks to Universal. It's always Universal, the very quiet but extremely competitive studio. Universal's Jurassic World Dominion, which has actually edged past Doctor Strange 2, putting Disney in third place. So Disney has that competition, but also Disney overall being shut out of China. This is a real problem, particularly for the MCU. Wait till you hear this. Now, MCU has always been boosted by China's box office because the Middle Kingdom has loved Marvel. In fact, when Star Wars started to come out, there was discussion over the fact that for China, Marvel was the big franchise, and they had no experience with Star Wars because those original movies had not played there really. So it was kind of a reverse situation from the United States. But anyway, that's like the whole reason that Kevin Feige decided to make Shang-Chi was because of how popular Marvel is in China. But what do you know? The very year that Shang-Chi was announced in 2019, that was the last year that China let Marvel films into the country. The last one was Spider-Man Far From Home, which came out right before Comic-Con, which was when Shang-Chi was officially announced. So that is a fascinating coinkydink. Very, very interesting. I wonder what it would take to get Marvel movies back into China. China has just one film in the global top 10 this year so far. During the pandemic, they were able to dominate because they kept their movie business going and their theaters open. Watergate Bridge, the sequel to the mega hit, the Battle of Lake Changjin, I believe is how you pronounce it. China's film industry has a lot of, let's say, government participation, and that government throws a lot of support behind propaganda war pics. In fact, there's even been reports of them selling you a ticket for another movie and then writing down on top of that the theater you actually should go to for the movie you actually want to see. Craziness. So far, the global top 10 is pretty evenly split. We've got 2 Paramount. I'm doing in the order of where they rank. So nice. Again, Disney third. So 2 Paramount, 2 Universal, 2 Disney, 2 Warner Brothers, 1 Sony, and then again, of course, 1 for China. And you can see the pandemic is still hurting the box office. As in 2019, there were $9 billion movies. That's incredible. That's incredible. 9 out of the top 10 had have grossed over $1 billion. Oh my gosh. And the last few years before that, you even then still needed $600 to $800 million to make it into the global top 10. This year, you can still make it in with just $400 million. Again, the year's not over, but the bar is still way too low. Wait till we get to domestic. Anyway, and you can see why Hollywood is so franchise happy with Uncharted, the only original film in the group, and even then, that one is supposed to start a franchise. It is a bit disappointing for Universal, I'm sure, to see both the Jurassic World and Despicable Me franchises not have their latest entries join the $1 billion club per what has become the usual for those franchises. I mean, Jurassic World Dominion is so close, and I'm sure it lost business to Top Gun Maverick I'm sure it stings, but more like a paper cut than a horrible gash, right? They're like, oh, so close. I would take note of that, but I don't think it's like something to be that concerned about. Minions, though, its domestic number is right on track with the first movie, so the problem is the international market. Minions 2 did just secure a China release date, as I'm sure some of you were pointing out, but the first movie only did like $68 million in China, so that's not going to get it over the $1 billion, the $1 billion line. So I think that franchise that might need a little bit retooling. Universal should really try and figure out what happened there. And speaking of retooling, while Fantastic Beasts 3 at least made the global top 10, again for now, over on domestic, it's only at 14. That's bad. And again, the year's not over for both charts, which is why Warner Brothers Discovery is probably not making any more of these films, just as Warner Brothers, the previous regime, had pretty much admitted. And I think Wizarding World is next for a reset after DC. There's a lot of talk about hiring someone to head up DC Films, but they clearly need someone to head up Wizarding World. They're probably going to wait to have that conversation until the Universal contract situation runs out, because they can't do anything with streaming or anything like that until that's done. So I think after they settle DC, they will turn their attention to Wizarding World. They better, I hope so. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to DC, because the Batman is number 4, both worldwide and domestic. That's very impressive. That's excellent. And it did very well down the line on streaming and in the digital marketplace. David Zaslav, pinged it as one of the movies that he was particularly happy about the performance of. Over on the domestic chart, Top Gun Maverick might be beatable on the worldwide chart, but it has such a strong lead here domestic, I think it will be hard to unseat it here. However, when it comes to the all-time domestic chart, while Top Gun Maverick has climbed to number 7 and could even get as high as number 6, 2 movies that topped it were the first Black Panther and Avatar. And who has sequels coming out later this year? Black Panther and Avatar. I'm very curious. The gauntlet has been thrown down. This is fascinating. For MCU movies, though, Doctor Strange 2's domestic box office, I think, is healthy. I think that's fine. Even it's worldwide. Again, it's like a paper cut. If only it had been $1 billion, but it's so close. But Thor: Love and Thunder is weak, any way you slice it. Black Panther Wakanda Forever hopefully will rally for the Marvel brand, but the MCU should be looking at another box office downturn. Is what's up next? Another Ant-Man movie. I hope Kang the Destroyer is enough to fix that, and maybe a Fantastic Four tease. But, the other Ant-Man movies have just performed so poorly that I'm nervous, and I hear this movie is just super silly. Also, on the domestic chart, it's nice to see Elvis here, even if it's not going to remain by the end of the year. And wow, is that Lightyear in the top 10? That just goes to show you how bleak the top 10 is. Because, so unless the holiday movie season really is horrible, and I don't think that's going to happen, expect 8 to 10 on this list, and maybe even 7 to 10 to get pushed out of the top 10 by the end of the year. Now, it's also worth noting that so far, only 12 films Nope will cross any day or already has by the time this video goes up into the century mark. So just 12 movies have crossed over into the century mark. For the last couple of years before that, it was around 30 movies. So that's half, less than half are hitting the century mark. I think this is more than the pandemic. I think it's how streaming has changed the business. Not only with more competition, but also the shortened theatrical window to digital and to streaming services where it's available at no extra cost. I think that's really changing the business, and why you see the studios and now even Warner Brothers Discovery trying to push back to the old theatrical release model, because they're cutting the legs off of these movies, man. That's fascinating to me. All right, so you can see right there, some of you are like, I want my movie in 45 days. But now you can see why maybe the studio doesn't want to give it to you anymore. As for the remaining films of the year, here are the ones that I think are the most competitive box office-wise in order of release. Halloween Ends, it's the final one, even though the last one wasn't great. It's the final chapter, comes out for Halloween, could be big. Especially if Universal doesn't undercut it with a Peacock release like they did the last one. Co-release. Black Adam, I think that could do well. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I thought that trailer looked really good. I love the style of animation. I think it's really interesting. And never underestimate an animated movie during the holidays. I think that could do great. I would put Strange World on here from Disney, but I think that's going to run into a lot of the same political problems that Lightyear did. So, and it's not a musical like Encanto, so I'm not so sure about Strange World, how that's going to perform at the box office. I think Puss in Boots could be the big animated movie of the holiday season. And then I want to dance with somebody, the Whitney Houston bio. A music bio done right can really hit. And Whitney Houston has an incredible library of songs and a really tragic but compelling story. So if this movie is done even remotely well, I think it could do really well. So that's the 2022 box office so far. Be sure to share your thoughts down below, including if you think anything can unseat Top Gun Maverick. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.